All right, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, and good morning again. We're asking you to, those of you coming on, thank you so much for just joining us every morning as we continue our run for justice, as we continue to run for self care and health as well. Today, we're very privileged to have Reverend Charles Harrison from the 10 Point Coalition over there in Indiana, and we're very grateful to him. I'll just ask everyone that as you come in, again, just do your thing. Share this video, like this video. What is going to be shared today is going to be of utmost importance. And then I also want to remind everyone to join our campaign. Wherever you are, if you're running, you can tag us. We're doing it for self-care, we're doing it for health, but we're also doing it as well to remember there's a lot of victims of gun violence across the country, not only in Brooklyn, not only in the Virgin Islands, but also in Indiana and Chicago. It's like urban America is on fire. So I'm really glad to have Reverend Harrison from Indiana with us today. Reverend Harrison, how are you? How are you doing
I,
today?
Pastor, I am doing real good today. Feeling real fit this morning. After doing about 5 miles early this morning, as I was meditating and running, like I do just about every morning.
Good. So you see that, Pastor Dave, 5 miles. I think we did. We were short today. We did four and something. 4 miles. All right, good. So we're gonna get up to your level, sir.
Okay.
Um, and start doing the 5 mile mark and do the running. We have been running again. You have been running for a long time, but my wife said to me, "Listen, you got to get out to your bed and you got to start to run." So I said, "Listen, why don't we connect this to the victims of gun violence, right?" Um,
Amen.
so so tell us, like, why is it important for, like, people would normally say, um, "I'm tired of talking. No more talk. We need action." Not realizing that you have to talk about the issues of gun violence because you have to bring awareness. You can't not stop talking about cancer. You cannot stop talking about better education. So why should we stop talking about the plight of gun violence?
Well, we really cannot, and every day we have to keep talking about the violence because it keeps impacting the lives of so many people, and we bring awareness to the issue that a lot of times doesn't get the kind of attention that it should get when disproportionately it is impacting people of color at an alarming rate in these urban cities across the country. And we got to move people from being numb about it
Mm-hmm.
and disengaged to be engaged about it so that we can begin to work together to address the issues that is causing the gun violence and also bring resources to help address the root causes of it.
And I think that people forget that you got to look at the root causes of the violence. So you have
Right,
been
right,
working, day in and day out over in Indiana. And on the description today, I put what you posted of the level of violence that you see happening in Indiana, and it just for some reason there was just this crazy uptick of violence across urban America in the last
right.
couple of months. What do you think is attributed to those? And then tell us about also too. I know that you met with the mayor and a few people trying to say, listen, you can't police your way out of this. There are certain things
Right.
that you need to put in place. So talk to us about that whole concept that you're working on.
Well, we really started to see an uptick in the violence in Indianapolis in November of last year, where we started to see a real increase, particularly in the violence that related to interpersonal conflicts, where individuals were starting to settle their beefs with one another with violence, and we started to see that uptick, which led to more stabbings, more people shot, and we started to see the increase in homicides. We started the year in Indianapolis. Normally in January and February is probably two of our lower months, but both months we ended up with almost 22 homicides each month. So that was very alarming to us. And this was really before COVID-19 had really hit. We were starting to see an uptick. And there really were in four areas we were starting to see uptick in violence. One is certainly in the drug trafficking. Number two, the interpersonal conflicts. We've seen a dramatic increase in gun
Hmm.
violence with interpersonal conflicts. Number three, robberies. And then number four at the time was domestic. But since COVID-19, the level of domestic violence has dramatically increased, in the city. And what is alarming, Pastor, it is more widespread. It used to be pretty predictable in Indianapolis in certain urban settings, neighborhoods, areas, but now it is much more widespread as the city is growing, as people are moving into other areas of the city. We're seeing an uptick everywhere, including the downtown area, which normally was safe in Indianapolis. So when we met with Mayor Hogsett, we really started talking about strategies that are working in certain parts of the city that we felt like needed to be expanded more citywide, which was a partnership between law enforcement, faith-based groups, anti-violence groups, and community stakeholders working together to both address the root causes of the violence, but yet have boots on the ground to engage those that are most likely to be the victims and the perpetrators of violent crime, so that needed to be more citywide and widespread rather than in certain areas of the city where we have seen a great deal of success. Why not expand it citywide?
So have they been receptive to that type of uh, this is a very comprehensive approach, of course, that we have been
Sure.
seeing. And during COVID, I would suggest that your shootings as well had also declined as well. Did you had a complete shutdown in the city during
Well,
the?
we did. We had a decline for about 2.5 weeks, but as you know, the underground economy kept operating, and after about 2.5 weeks, it exploded again. And we've been on a trajectory. We're on a trajectory now in Indianapolis where we're going to break the all-time homicide record, criminal homicide record, shooting non-fatal shooting record and stabbing record this year at the pace we're going. And maybe for the first time in Indianapolis, we may exceed 200 homicides. We have never seen this, but my concern is that it's been on a 6-year trajectory upward. And I don't think we have done a good job as the city in implementing proven evidence-based strategies to help curb the violence because politics has gotten in the way of what was best for our city.
And that is always unfortunate when politics get in the way of what's going on the ground level. Again, it must take a comprehensive approach, and I like the idea of the 10-point coalition because you are really what we call boots on the ground. We
Right.
have a saying over here that we got to put our feet to our fate, and you definitely have your feet to your fate,
Yes.
and you got to pray with your feet as well. Um, so what could turn around? What are some in Indiana? You don't have you're not an open carry state. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes. We,
You're
we
you're
are. Yeah.
you're
Yes.
open carry state.
We
And
are.
yeah, because I know that sometimes in open carry states, the violence is not as high because again, everyone legally can carry a gun. But the crime that you're seeing though is illegal handgun, isn't it?
Yeah. You're seeing the proliferation of illegal handguns on the street. I was telling someone uh, last week that I've been doing this for about 21 years now, and when I first started, walking the streets with OGs, maybe if you run into a group of kids of seven, maybe two of them had guns 21 years ago. Now everybody has a gun, and they're getting them at younger and younger ages. And that's where we're seeing the escalation of it. Everybody has guns. And when people are beefing now, they're using them to settle those conflicts. And it's not just the young men anymore; it's the young ladies too. So we have seen an uptick in violence among females in the city too. So that's certainly a different challenge because TenPoint focuses on young men of color between the ages of 12 and 24. Now we're going to have to adjust a little bit because we're seeing this uptick among females that are in that same age bracket.
Yeah, and that is always tough. You always look at our young ladies and queens not in that same
Yeah,
light. I think that we have to break that model for sure. I don't want to look at every young lady that I see. Well, is she carrying? Is she not carrying?
right.
So that work is great in Indiana, in New York, in urban America, as we say. Um, so so how have you been doing your work? If you people who are listening, sometimes they don't understand the work of clergy that's dealing directly with gun violence, and it's not just about us coming to a prayer vigil and praying. They don't. I mean, I don't think that everyone understands the holistic approach to this. You must have different prongs of approach to the violence, and I believe, and you believe, we believe
Right,
that
right.
there is not one way
That's right.
to triage this, but
That's
you
right.
must add all of the pieces together to have a collective approach to the violence.
That's
So I
true.
know that in your department, they have been putting money into to police, putting money into to crime strategies, but not thinking that, listen, there needs to be like a 10 million allotment for nonprofit organizations or whatever that number you had said would need to take to help Indiana. So talk about break down for us how you do your work so that people could understand the totality of the type of work that is being done every single day.
Well, what we're most known for in Indianapolis and with TenPoint across really the Midwest, because we're working with a lot of cities across the Midwest, is certainly the work that we do on the ground. We're very strategic and very targeted when we go out in the evening into these high crime areas, focusing on what we call hot people in hot areas. And what we're trying to do as we engage young people who may be in neighborhood cliques, maybe in gangs, maybe selling drugs, may even be the stick up boys in the neighborhood, is really trying to redirect their lives as we engage them. So we tend to go out anywhere from 8 o'clock at nighttime to as late, particularly on the weekends, to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And we're engaging those individuals. We're trying to put them on a pathway of success. And that
Mm,
means we spend a lot of time, doing mentoring and counseling on street corners.
hmm
Uh, we this past Friday we happened to be walking in the neighborhood and we encountered a fight in one of the stores. And people were running out of the store saying that there was a fight and people had guns. We go in the store. There are people who are bloodied up, fighting, and they had guns. We were able to de-escalate that conflict very quickly because of our reputation, and we have a lot of OGs with us, and we were able to, after it was over, sit down and really talk to young men after we got them to put their guns down about why it was not wise to pull those guns out and try to use those guns to settle those conflicts, that there were other ways to address that conflict rather than pulling out those guns. And that's what, Pastor, we really try to do. The other aspect of what we do is to try to connect individuals to wraparound services because people are not going to stop selling drugs and doing criminal things if you don't have an alternative for them.
Right.
And so we got to offer them something. So that's what we spend a lot of time in, connecting them to services to meet their needs, whatever that may be. And that's where the collaborative approach takes place with the community, because everybody has a role to play, and we try to connect everybody together so that we are able to triage someone's need on the street so that we can respond to it immediately, because sometimes if you wait till the next day, it might be too late. So we got to
True.
deal with that immediately. So that's what we really try to do.
So where is Indiana right now and your whole political landscape, the mindset? I think that a lot of people buy into your model. You have been doing this for 20 years now, plus it have worked across the cities. It is working in a lot of places that have implemented some variation
Right.
of the model of the 10-point coalition. We have used a lot of your strategies too as well in developing and building what the
Right.
God Squad is doing here in Brooklyn.
Right.
If you would have to put like a figure amount on in terms of your budget, what would be a good number for your budget to be able to sustain you to do that type of work? And then when you say OGs, I just need to explain to people that not everyone knows what's an OG, so you have to.
Yeah. We call them, a lot of cities call them balance interrupters. We call them OGs, original gangsters, individuals who are ex-offenders at one time, were part of the problem, went to prison, they came out and turned their life around. And a lot of those individuals were in our churches. And when we started talking about the 10-point model, they wanted to get involved, and they started explaining to me, Pastor, this is how you get into my world. And even though we were doing a lot of good work, even as pastors and members of our church walking the streets, we really started to make an impact when we started using individuals who once were a part of the problem walking with us, and they introduced us to a world that some had not seen before. So that's who they are, and we have expanded the number of individuals who are OGs that we're using, and we only use individuals who are from that neighborhood. So every area of the city that we patrol, we take people from that area rather than trying to import people from another part
Right.
of the city. So that's what has been effective for us, and why we have seen so much success on the ground where the rest of the city is really struggling.
Yeah, so good. So now everyone understand what's an OG. Not everyone
Yeah.
can be an OG. Yeah, thank you for that.
All right. Okay.
So I'll talk about.
Well,
Uh,
the figure you asked about a budget figure for the areas that we use about 50 what we call volunteers that we pay a stipend to be out, around 20 hours a week, plus about 10 full-time individuals who we call violence interrupters or street outreach workers,
mhm.
and then two caseworkers to help
Right.
individuals as we try to. So we're running for the areas nearly $1 million a year for that. We want to expand that
Right.
and do twice as much. So you're probably going to be looking at about 2 million a year in order for us to help out in other hotspot areas across Indianapolis.
Do you have any specific other nonprofit organizations besides yours that's doing that type of work using OGs, or do you have a particular cure violence site in the area to which you work in?
Well, there are other groups that are doing it. They don't do it quite like we do. We have Resurrection Community Partners, a group of pastors on the east side, Stop the Violence, the Peacekeepers. Most of those groups do it maybe once a week. We're on the streets at least 5 days a week, doing critical hours where we're seeing the highest level of violence. So
Got
no
you.
one in Indianapolis is doing it quite like 10-point does. But
Right.
what we're willing to do and talk to the mayor about was training other groups in other hospital areas of the city
Correct.
to do the same kind of work.
Yeah, and I think so that is important too as well. And I think that from your model, we probably was looking at the data from the police department here that shows you the highest risk of people at the time and the date that they're being
Right,
shot, which you
right,
definitely need to pay attention to,
right,
because if you think that you have to go to the most critical opportunity, I know that people get shot all the time,
right,
but if you have a high number on Fridays, if you have a high number on Mondays,
right,
a lower number on Sundays, but then a higher number on Saturdays,
right.
we have to put our resources. But I think that for me, I've been saying too as well when we started this in the morning live feed, that people in America look at urban violence different. That
Oh
it's
yeah,
harder to really raise money
Right.
for urban violence than it is for other type of violence. Well, let me say, it's hard to raise money in the work that we do, because to receive a substantial budget of $2 million for crime fighting, where we know that over 200 plus lives are going to be lost in Indiana. I think that when you look at the benefits, you look at the money that you're spending to incarcerate these individuals, the overtime hours that you have to spend on policing, I think that you can take again, the city has to have a holistic approach to really fund good organizations like TenPoint Coalition to do the work. And I want to say that, and it needs to be clergy led too. You could have other organizations, but you need
Right.
organizations that are clergy led
That's
to
right.
be involved in the change, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who's doing just about all of the funeral services.
Right.
We're the
Right.
one who's
That's
taking care
right.
of the parents when they're
Right.
the loved ones have long gone. We have
Right.
to support the family. So
Right.
what better
Right. Right.
opportunity
Right.
it is to really support the clergy groups.
Well, that's true. That's true. And what we're trying to do now is mobilize more clergy across the city, because we churches do a whole lot to really address the root causes that is leading to the violence, and we're trying to say to our colleagues, let's begin to partner together so that we're working together rather than in our own silos. To really try to meet these needs and direct people to the right places so that there's a
Hmm.
role that everyone can play. Everybody doesn't have to walk the streets. There's a
Right.
lot of things a lot of clergy can do, to help
Yes,
curb this
sir.
violence. And that's what we're trying to educate the rest of the clergy about. You don't have to do what Pastor Harrison does. There are things that you do well, and we want you to do those things well.
And sometimes, one of the hardest things that we have seen, especially when we have started to do the national training that you were also part of for the national movement. Um, some clergy member could really help us by just promoting the work on the social media, by
Right, right,
speaking
right,
out
right,
from a specific area, by being our
right,
voice. Like
right,
you
right,
said,
right,
every one of us, we don't have to do the same thing, and every one of us
right,
did, but we have to be able to work together and see, because I think that what we learn from our training, Pastor, is that some members of the faith community just don't know what to do.
Oh, yeah,
They
that's
feel
true.
out.
That's true.
They feel out of place. Some live in areas that really and truly they don't really have a problem with gun violence. Some live in communities that they're kind of isolated from the issues, and then there are some of us who live in the community that they're tired of just dealing with the violence. They have given up and throw their hands up in the
Right,
air.
right.
And there are those of us who are literally on the ground, street engagement, running programs, type of clergy that's doing the work. So I think that you're correct. All of us,
Right.
clergy, can decide how they want to move forward. What do you think is the uptick in the violence across America today, in urban America?
Wow, that's a good question, and I wish I had the answer. I've heard a lot of different theories on that, but we're certainly seeing it. I know a lot of people think that it's related to the COVID-19. And I certainly think that that is a part of it. But there seems to be some unrest out there, and I don't know what has led to that unrest
Hmm.
among our young people. And the level of hopelessness, in my opinion, seems to have increased. And what has led to that, I'm not for sure. We're trying to put our finger on that here in Indianapolis to try to understand what's going on now that has really led to this. Is it just the way people are handling conflict now that has changed, and guns particularly seems to be the primary way they're dealing with each other? Is it that simple, or is it more complex than that? I'm not for sure, Pastor.
Yeah, I am not sure too as well. There are so many different variables of what is happening.
Right, Right, right,
I think there's also lack of responsibility for young people for themselves too as well.
right, right,
Anyone who can find rap music on, that's just me. I
right.
try not to make too much excuse, but anyone who could find rap music, who could understand what rappers are saying that I can't understand in the first glance, you have to develop a special skill set to
Right,
be in that world. But
right,
I think also too that everyone know about CNN, CBS,
right,
ABC. I think that people understand and they know about church, they know about
right.
education. I think that what needs to happen is that they just need a nudging to let them know that quick money ends your life quickly.
That's true.
Fast money put you on the fast track to get buried.
Right,
And I
right.
think that you have to step back and understand that you have to take your own life and your own destiny into your hands. That's going to take a lot of work, and that's why we are out trying to touch individuals, just touching people every day, all day. So what could we expect from you, and what new projects are coming out of Indiana? I think you have been working again very hard to get the police department, the mayor, along with yourself, and other groups on the same page. Did you all finally created this comprehensive plan that includes all of the groups in Indiana?
Well, that's what we're working on now, and trying to move the mayor, the city county council. Um, we have some divisions in the city, and some barriers that have kept us from working together, and we're now trying to address those. Indy TenPoint got started 21 years ago under a Republican mayor, and 99% of the pastors are Democrats, but because we were started under a Republican mayor, we got labeled as a Republican group, and it really shouldn't matter. So
Right.
we're trying to overcome, those issues with the Democratic mayor and the Democratic council that would prefer to try to recreate the wheel rather than to use the wheel that is working. So so
So
those
so
so those are some of
what
the
does it
challenges
what
we're facing. Yeah,
and that is so fickle. What does it matter if you were started under the Republican
I
party?
know.
Any which way, the Republican party, especially in the George Bush White House, was
Right,
very instrumental in helping a lot of faith-based communities.
right, right.
So
Absolutely.
we could never forget George Bush Jr., who did a lot of work around the faith communities, and he was trying as fair as possible to help all faith-based groups, and that happened under the Republican Party in the White House. So
Right,
we should
right.
not be scared. The Democratic Party is not beholden to values that we hold to, that says that we can't work with the Republican Party. We are dealing with violence. We're dealing with young people. So whether the Republican
That's right.
Party gives us money or the Democratic Party give us money, for us, it doesn't matter, because I'll tell you right now, all of the
Right, right.
99.8% of the black clergy who are Democrats, someone said to me, and I heard in New York City on the radio, it said that left wing, right wing is the same bird. So whether you on the left wing or you're on the right wing, these are two things that are set forward that one can't sail without the other. So we have to
Right,
pull
right,
back ourselves from
right,
taking and beholden to the Democratic Party
right,
while we're supposed to be dealing with people's lives. We should
right.
not
That's
play
true.
politics between the Democrats. So if the Democratic Party wants to recreate, all they have to do is for us is that step out of the way and fund the programs that needs to be funded, and let the people do the work. Because no one, when someone is being shot and killed in our community, they're not asking them if they're red or blue or the
That's
Democrat.
true. That's true.
They're just saying that, listen, man, people are being killed and maimed and stabbed to death in our cities in urban America. We have to get from that petty politics and move forward. I'm hoping that you can overcome that small glitch, I would say, being labeled as a Republican group. But your work, whether you are Republican or not, you will be one of the best Republican that I would have known even if that was the case. Even
Yeah,
if that was the case.
if that was the case. Yeah, yeah. We're trying to get the city really, as you said, Pastor, to focus on the issue of violence.
Right.
And I just believe that it's going to take all of us working together, Democrats, Republicans, independents, blacks, whites, Latinos. All of us have to work together to address this issue. And that's certainly my goal and the goal of my colleagues here in Indianapolis to get all of our elected officials, the governor who's Republican, the mayor who's Democrat, and we have the vice president is from Indiana, and we met with him last week to talk about
Hmm.
this issue at national level. This has to become a priority for cities, for governors, and for our national elected officials. This issue of urban violence.
And boy, it is an issue. So
Yeah.
listen, we're really grateful that you are holding down Indiana. Thank you, man, for just coming on and spending some time with us today. I know that you're busy, you're running in the car.
Yes.
It just happened that we have a good member of the God Squad who church is right
Amen.
next to the park. So I just ran in for some shelter
Okay.
today.
Okay. All right.
Um, but normally I'm out sweaty and I'm on the camera. But today I said let me just retreat into this space.
Okay.
But thank you so much, man. We are praying for you. We're praying with you, and we're keeping track of what you're doing. And we're supporting you 100%.
Well, thank you, Pastor, for having me, and I look forward to us working together on the national level and all the
Hmm.
great work you are doing in the God Squad in Brooklyn, New York. So blessings on you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of
Okay.
your day.
Okay. You
Thank
too.
you.
Uh-huh.
Take good
Bye-bye.
care. So here we have it, man. Everybody, we had a good conversation with Reverend Harrison of Indiana, just talking about the difficulty of doing work in Indiana. The crime is up, not only here in New York City, but the crime is also up in urban America across the board. So we know for sure that if anyone was listening to Malcolm X and Dr. King, even the great Marcus Garvey, self determination is so important. When you look at guns, it is not from slavery to segregation to self killing and self hatred. I think that it is a trajectory for us that states that over and over again we are being used, and the systems that are set up against the African American community and the black community, it's so deep that we're not sure how we're going to pull ourselves out of it. But one thing we do know, that we are going to work as hard as we can and for as long as we can, as long as that we have the strength in life. As a church, we are still considered to be the salt and the light of the earth. And as long as there is darkness, light is always going to be needed. And so our role and our responsibility is not going to change. So our prayers are with Indiana as they're praying for us in Brooklyn, in urban America, across Chicago, all of the different places, the Virgin Islands, the Caribbean countries, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Tobago, a lot of places that have a high level of violence. So what we're seeing again is that to liberate ourselves from mental slavery that Bob Marley said, it takes really a look to see if you're going to kill over 15,000 black men every year. That is a lot of really leaders being killed. It's a whole generation. That's a lot of people being killed by gun violence. But also, too, is a lot of families that is being broken too as well. So you are broken down the fabric of our communities. You're destabilizing the black family, and that is pushing people more into poverty. These are breadwinners too as well who's being killed. You're pushing families deep down into poverty, and so this cycle that we have, it cascades from, just the violence, but it also look at families' structure being shaken up, and you just it's like a no-win situation in our communities across the board. We have to work so hard, and we have to be so focused on so many areas in our communities. What we have to deal with is insurmountable. The problems that we face right now in our local communities is really difficult to deal with. You have to take everything that you have to throw at those things to see. Even yesterday while we're driving through Ocean Hill and Weeksville communities, we pull up and we just saw, people just out drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning in a gathering, just sitting down outside on chairs in our communities. That can never be healthy. That can never be healthy because when you have someone who are drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 9 o'clock in the morning, what that does and what that says to us is that those individuals, literally speaking, have not have a regular day cycle. That those of you who get up to work or get up to do your business know that you can't be drunk at 9 o'clock in the morning. You can't be drunk and sitting outside at 10 a.m. in the morning. That is not a normal behavior. And we are seeing that that is normalized in our communities as we drive around, as we walk in our communities, as we see the gatherings on these blocks. And so, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, in America right now, in urban America, our communities are being destroyed. And so, what we have to do is that we have to be smart enough to say, listen, if we think that this is a systematic idea of racism, breaking down of the black families, we have to change the narrative. And the way that we change the narrative is that I think that the young men on the street, they're smart enough, they have street sense. I think that they are well aware of the idea of liberation. If you are smart enough to run an operation that sell drugs, move drugs into New York City, wherever you live, be able to cut the drugs up into the right portion, be able to have enough money to make money, spend money, and then buy more drugs. That's a business mentality. That's a mindset. We are saying to them that I think it's harder to sell drugs, to make money off of drugs, even though you make a larger sum of money, than to start a legitimate business, to be able to deal with whatever you have, whether it's t-shirts or whatever you're making. I think if you put the work in, the dedication in, you can make just as much money, but you have to do it in just a different way. But the hustle is the same. And so what I'm hoping that is going to be done is that for some, there's a renaissance or a revolution within the minds of our young people to know that the trajectory that we are on is just another continuation of slavery. It's another continuation, really and truly, of the ability of being segregated. It's another continuation of breaking down the black family and the black home. When we start to kill again 15,000 black men every year, and then you compound that with year after year after year, you're looking at someone doing a documentation of maybe 500,000 or more young black men being killed by the hands of another black person or whoever by guns. Just the idea of the violent death itself leave a stench in the universe over the cloud of black and brown young people. So we have to do much more, because the stench of the violence that we find, if we're killing at the rate of 15,000 young black men every year, it's another area of genocide in our communities. So when you're talking about breaking the glass ceiling, when you're talking about who's going to be the next president, we're killing our presidents, we're killing our doctors, we're killing our lawyers, we're killing our fathers, and then we're allowing a generation to grow up without fathers. We're taking away revenue stream from homes, pushing that family back into poverty again after we have spent the last couple of years um, working to push us out of poverty. So you have this cycle from slavery in America, Slavery now was removed. You have the idea of Jim Crow. You have from Jim Crow, you have segregation. You have the racism in terms of systematic. Then you have now the self-hate, killing of ourselves. Now you see then that even in the idea of slavery, with the idea of slavery, at least families for some had a level of semblance of family, as difficult as it was, but not killing ourselves through our own hands. Then we got the freedom. We got the freedom that we fought for. And after we got the freedom, came into the hands the freeness of having guns flowing out into our communities, taking these guns and having these guns now kill our young black men. So we don't have to be killed by the hands of police officers. We don't have to be killed by the hands of our masters anymore. We don't have to be on a plantation, a slave plantation, to be killed. What we're doing now is that we are now killing ourselves at a higher rate in which we were in slavery. So what it says to me is that we have become what we despise. We have become the takers of our own lives. We have become enslaved. Worse than when we were physically, we're enslaved in our mental capacity. Spiritually, we're enslaved because we can't see the ancestors and the spirit of our ancestors permeating within our community, because the stench of death in the spirit has taken over our communities. So we have to work very hard to purge the minds of young people. And it comes from different levels. We don't know how successful that we're going to be. I can't tell you how successful that we're going to be. All I know is that it's an uphill battle. And how did we get here? We got here through 200 years of all of the things that I talked to you about, of the slavery narrative, of the Jim Crow, of the fact of the civil rights era, from moving from that to segregation, from moving from that to mass incarceration, from moving now that to self-mass incarceration, to self-hate, to self-killing. We can blame systems, yes, but at the same time, mindset must be changed and mindset must be broken. And the quickest way that we can do this and win this is not through social services, it's not through the programs that we run, it's not through being on the street. The quickest way that we can reverse this cycle of killing and death in our community is by the changed mindset of young people who are actually doing the killing and the maiming themselves. The people who are at the highest risk to be killed are the people who now have to change the mindset and make a difference so that they themselves can live out the true meaning in which they want to live. Everybody wants to live, I think, for the most part in our community. They don't want to do what they're doing right now. That life is definitely a life that is shitty. That life is no good. And so what I would say is then that the mindset and the mentality, we also have to put the onus on them. Is that what incentive did you get to pick up a gun? It should be the same incentive that you should receive to put down the gun. Now, it might sound far-fetched. Yes, I'm all for resources, which yes, we're doing. I'm all for mentorship, yes, which we're doing. But at the same time, mentally speaking, and I'm talking about Black consciousness, about seeing the world where we are. I'm talking about Black consciousness, seeing the world where we are, and then changing our mindset to fit the fact that if you go into slavery, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, where mass incarceration lasts, if you have over 1.5 million Blacks in jail, if you have over 15,000 Black people are being killed every year, what you're seeing is that you're taking away the fabric of our Black community. So the violence that we face is not just about shooting and killing one another now. It's about generational wealth within the community. It's about historically preserving mentalities of power and prestige. It's about preserving legacy, that the people that, if you have 15,000 people, my God, and we're killing about 250 young Black men in New York City every single year. If you're looking at the dropout rate in New York City, if you're looking at all of those things, you're seeing that we're losing a generation, and we're losing generations of young men. So the young men themselves who are committing the harm to themselves also have to put on the spot, to put on the spot to let you know that the work of the white man, quote unquote, the work of the white man that we said, you are now doing the bidding of your masters. And that is the worst part, even worse than pulling on the trigger. Because what you're doing is that you're not killing one person, you're killing yourself and you're killing the other person, physically speaking. But you're also putting that spirit on your children and on your generation. Anyone who kills a black man is going to die. Anyone who kills a black man is going to die. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you are killing a young man at the age of 40, let's say 24, who have a son or a daughter, 2 years old, 3 years old, that young person difficulty of growing up to be successful have been diminished by just your one action. Think about this. You are less likely to get the same job with a college degree as a white person without a college degree. You are less likely to get the salary of your counterpart if you are black and you're a woman. You're less likely to get the same amount of payment if you are black to your white counterpart if you are male. Now, you're less likely to go to college because if your family don't have money, how are you going to pay for tuition? And if your family is not setting a trend for you to get to college, you will not go to college. So in our family, here's how it worked. My father and my mother didn't go to college, but they did say, listen, as immigrants, we want our children, 9 of us, to go to college. So now out of our homes, out of my siblings, we have PhDs, we have doctors in our family. We have those who graduated from colleges, who have the master's degree, who have the doctorate degree, right at this minute. Then trickle down to the next generation. Now our children, of course, is going over to college, is going to have the master's degree, is going to have the PhD. So my family trajectory have been set up because my parents said, okay, this is what we expect from you. And then we said, okay, fine, we're going to do it. And then we see the benefit, and now we're giving it over to our children. If you kill someone with a gun and you have a daughter yourself, that your family itself is in jeopardy of dying. The family member that you kill, that their daughter, their son, their children is less likely to have the same trajectory that I had. And so therefore what we're doing now is that we're doing the bidding of our masters who put us in slavery for free labor, to work your butt off, to get nothing in return, and then to be discarded at the end of the day. The opposite is that we're free. No one is saying to us every single day that you have to kill your own selves, you have to kill, your brother, your sister. We are doing the bidding for the people who had us into slavery. I'm talking about mindset. I'm talking about spirit. I'm talking about trajectory. I'm talking about legacy. I'm talking about in the spirit of the people who came to fight for freedom. So what we're doing now is that we're killing ourselves free of charge. We are doing the bidding of the individuals who's putting us into mass incarceration, who's flooding our communities with drugs, who's flooding our communities with guns, who's saying, yes, pick up the gun. This is your turf. This one strip of street, this is yours. You gotta defend the block. While not understanding that the world is ours. We are focusing on a particular street. We are focusing upon a particular area. There's people who so dumb they have never left in the mindset thinking that, oh, we're doing a good thing, have never left that particular area, have never caught the train and gone to Manhattan. These are all of the things that we are fighting on. These are all of the things that we are fighting about. And so I want to say that we have to release our minds from the mere fact that we're doing the bidding of the devil. We're killing ourselves. And so it is great for the devil to have all of these individuals are saying, listen, you don't want to live in hell and then die and go to hell. So we have much work to do. And I trust and pray that all of us who are listening today If you continue to share and like this video, please do so. Share it and like it over and over again. We have to get this type of messages out. We have to build a movement. It has to be underground. We have to get to the crux of the matter. We have to get to all of those young people as we talk to them, as we speak to them, wherever they are, wherever they're hiding, but more so to parents and family members and cousins, that you talk to individuals and let them know that we are not enslaved anymore. We have gone, the shackles have been taken off of our hands and our feet, and the shackle is now over our minds. The shackle now is we are meeting everyone in the graveyard. This is our big celebratory place. The best place to be in the Black and brown community is to be 6 feet under. That in of itself is a sad commentary for our own community. So to change that trajectory, I'm going to ask all of you to stay steady. Stop saying about, people should stop talking, or you shouldn't be doing marches or whatever. Whatever you can do, we want you to do it. Whatever you want to do, I'm telling you that you need to do the best that you can do, because at the end of the day, we have so much work to do. And the fact is that we are joined at the hip of all of this. When I leave here right now, go to the park where a young man got shot yesterday and got killed, and you're walking in this neighborhood, you feel the pain, the tension. And so what we got to do is that we got to figure out how together that we move forward. So listen, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Thank you for joining me on the live. Really share our video for sure. Like it. Have people come on in the morning. We want to be the change that we see, that we see. So thank you again. God bless you all. And we'll see you again tomorrow morning in the will of the Lord. Take good care, everybody. Be safe. Stay prayed up. Stay positive. I'm sure at the end of the day that we're going to save as many lives as we can.